I'm always coming in rough, looking rough as hell for book club. I swear. Who's ready? I know I am. Switch it over. Oop. All right. Let's get started. I jammed a bunch of food in my face before this. Inhaled a bunch of Nilla wafers. I didn't ever really have them as a kid, but holy shit, they are good. It's been a chill day. Happy day to you all. Happy Monday. I hope you guys been doing good. Let's see. There we go. Maybe that's a little better. I don't want to be too loud. And the music being too loud too. It has been a very chill day here at the smolbean headquarters. Oh, thank you to Security Guy D for the follow, by the way. Like, just followed a few minutes ago. So thank you for following. Really appreciate it. Pull. Okay, cool. All right, well, who's ready to read? I'm excited to read, honestly. This book is, like, getting more and more interesting as it goes on. Just to, like, recap. So, we learned about Buttercup's life. We learned about the life of the prince and what a piece of shit he was. We learned the origin of the prince and Buttercup's relationship. And then Princess Buttercup was stolen and being taken to a specific place to be, like, murdered for ransom, essentially. And then a masked man in black came in, started helping her, essentially, but also, quote unquote, stealing her for himself somehow. And, defeating all of her captors, in which we also got their entire background stories, which were all very intriguing. And we just got to the part where Princess Buttercup has been rescued, essentially, and the man in black is like, okay, let's go. And she's like, where are we going? I literally just got here. Like, I've been listening, but, like, girl, I just got unbound. You just killed people in front of me. What am I supposed to do? So that is the recap on that. Very exciting, I know. And so let's see. Okay. So, also, yeah. So the guy died. We'll pick up right where, like, a little bit before where we were, because I feel like we need to back up a little and then start. Okay. The man in black stepped quickly over the corpse, then roughly ripped the blindfold from the princess's eyes. I heard everything that Buttercup began, and then she said, oh, because she'd never been next to a dead man before. You killed him, she whispered finally. I let him die laughing, said the man in black. Pray I do as much for you. He lifted her, slashed her bonds away, put her on her feet, and started to pull her along. "Please," Buttercup said, "give me a moment to gather myself." The man in black released his grip. Buttercup rubbed her wrists, stopped, and massaged her ankles. She took a final look at the Sicilian. "To think," she murmured, "all the time it was your cup that was poisoned." "They were both poisoned," said the man in black. "I've spent the past 2 years building up immunity to iocane powder." Buttercup looked at him. He was terrifying to her, masked and hooded and dangerous. His voice was strained, rough. "Who are you?" she asked. "I am no one to be trifled with," replied the man in black. "That is all you ever need to know." And with that he yanked her upright. "You've had your moment." Again he pulled her after him, and this time she could do nothing but follow. They moved along the mountain path. The moonlight was very bright, and there were rocks everywhere, and to Buttercup it all looked dead and yellow like the moon. She had just spent several hours with 3 men who were openly planning to kill her. So why, she wondered, was she more frightened now than then? Who was the horrid, hooded figure to strike fear in her so? What could be worse than dying? "I will pay you a great deal of money to release me," she managed to say. The man in black glanced at her. "You are rich then?" "I will be," Buttercup said. "Whatever you want for ransom, I promise I'll get for you if you will let me go." The man in black just laughed. "I was not speaking in jest. You promise. You! I should release you on your promise. What is that worth? The vow of a woman. Oh, that is very funny, Highness, spoken in jest or not." They proceeded along the mountain path to an open space. The man in black stopped them. There were a million stars fighting for prominence, and for a moment he seemed to be intent on nothing less than studying them all, as Buttercup watched his eyes flick from constellation to constellation behind his mask. Okay. Then, with no warning, he spun off the path, heading into wild terrain, pulling her behind him. She stumbled. He pulled her to her feet. Again she fell. Again he righted her. "I cannot move this quickly." "You can, and you will, or you will suffer greatly. Do you think I could make you suffer greatly?" Buttercup nodded. "Then run," cried the man in black, and he broke into a run himself, flying across the rocks in the moonlight, pulling the princess behind him. She did her best to keep up. She was frightened as to what he would do to her. Oh my god, she was frightened as to what he would do to her, so she dared not fall again. After 5 minutes, the man in black stopped dead. "Catch your breath," he commanded. Buttercup nodded, gasped in air, tried to quiet her heart, but then were off again, with no warning, dashing across the mountain terrain, heading. "Where do you take me?" Buttercup gasped when he gave her a chance to rest. "Surely even someone as arrogant as you cannot expect me to give an answer." "It does not matter if I tell you or not. He will not find you." "He, Highness. Prince Humperdinck. There is no greater hunter. He can track a falcon on a cloudy day. He can find you." "You have confidence that your dearest love will save you, do you?" "I never said he was my dearest love, and yes, he will save me. That I know." "You admit you do not love your husband-to-be? Fancy. An honest woman. You're a rare specimen, Highness." The prince and I have never, from the beginning, lied to each other. He knows I do not love him." Are not capable of love is what you mean." "I'm very capable of love," Buttercup said. "Hold your tongue, I think. I have loved more deeply than a killer like you could possibly imagine." He slapped her. "That is the penalty for lying, Highness. Where I come from, when a woman lies, she is reprimanded." "But I spoke the truth, I did. Buttercup saw his hand raised a second time, so she stopped quickly and fell dead silent. Then they began to run again. They did not speak for hours. They just ran, and then, as if he could guess when she was spent, he would stop, release her hand. She would try to catch her breath for the next dash she was sure would come. Without a sound, he would grab her and off they would go. It was close to dawn when they first saw the armada. They were running along the edge of a towering ravine. They seemed almost to be at the top of the world. But when they stopped, Buttercup sank down to rest. The man in black stood silently over her. "Your love comes, not alone," he said then. Buttercup did not understand. The man in black pointed back the way they had come. Buttercup stared, and as she did, the waters of Florin Channel seemed as filled with light as the sky was filled with stars. "He must have ordered every ship in Florin after you," the man in black said. "Such a sight I've never seen." He stared at all the lanterns on all the ships as they moved. "You can never escape him," Buttercup said. "If you release me, I promise that you will come to no harm." "You are much too generous. I could never accept that offer." I offered you your life. That was generous enough." "Highness," said the man in black, and his hands were suddenly at her throat. "If there's talk of life to be done, let me do it." "You would not kill me. You did not steal me from murderers to murder me yourself." "Wise as well as loving," said the man in black. He jerked her to her feet, and they ran along the edge of the great ravine. It was hundreds of feet deep and filled with rocks and trees and lifting shadows. Abruptly, the man in black stopped, stared back at the armada. "To be honest," he said, "I had not expected quite so many." "You can never predict, my prince. That is why he is the greatest hunter." "I wonder," said the man in black, "will he stay in one group or will he divide? Some to search the coastline, some to follow your path on land. What do you think?" "I only know he will find me, and if you have not given me my freedom first, he will not treat you greatly." "Surely he must have discussed things with you, the thrill of the hunt. What has he done in the past with many ships?" "We do not discuss hunting, that I can assure you." "Not hunting, not love. What do you talk about?" "We do not see all that much of each other." "Tender couple." Buttercup could feel the upset coming. "We are always very honest with each other. Not everyone can say as much." "May I please tell you something, Highness? You're very cold." "I'm not." "Very cold and very young, and if you live, I think you'll turn to hoarfrost. Why do you pick at me? I have come to terms with my life, and that is my affair. I am not cold, I swear. But I have decided certain things. It is best for me to ignore emotion. I have not been happy dealing with it." Her heart was a secret garden, and the walls were very high. "I loved once," Buttercup said after a moment. "It worked out badly." "Another rich man." "Yes, and he left you for a richer woman." "No, poor. Poor, and it killed him." "Were you sorry? Did you feel pain? Admit that you felt nothing. Do not mock my grief. I died that day." The armada began to fire signal cannons. The explosions echoed through the mountains. The man in black stared as the ships began to change formation. And while he was watching the ships, Buttercup shoved him with all her strength remaining. For a moment, the man in black teetered at the ravine edge. His arms spun like windmills fighting for balance. They swung and gripped the air, and then he began his slide. Down went the man in black, stumbling and torn and reaching out to stop his descent, but the ravine was too steep, and nothing could be done. Down, down, rolling over rocks, spinning, out of all control. Buttercup stared at what she had done. Finally he rested far below her, silent and without motion. "You can die too for all I care," she said, and then turned away. Words followed her, whispered from far, weak and warm and familiar. As you wish. Dawn in the mountains. Buttercup turned back to the source of the sound and stared down. In first light, the man in black struggled to remove his mask. "Oh, my sweet Wesley," Buttercup said. "What have I done to you now?" From the bottom of the ravine, there came only silence. Buttercup hesitated not a moment. Down she went after him, keeping her feet as best she could, and she thought she heard him crying out to her over and over, but she could not make sense of his words because inside her now there was the thunder of walls crumbling, and that noise was enough. Besides, her balance quickly was gone, and the ravine had her. She fell fast and she fell hard, but what did that matter? But what did that matter, since she would have gladly dropped 1,000 feet onto a bed of nails if Wesley had been waiting down at the bottom. Down, down. Tossed and spinning, crashed, torn, out of all control. She rolled and twisted and plunged, cartwheeling toward what was left of her beloved. From his position at the point of the armada, Prince Humperdinck stared at the cliffs of insanity. This was just like any other hunt. He made himself think away the quarry. It did not matter if he were after an antelope or a bride-to-be. The procedures held. Sorry, my stutter's hard. My stutter is not good today. You gathered evidence, then you acted. You studied, then you performed. If you studied too little, the chances were strong that your actions would also be late. You had to take time. And so, frozen in thought, he continued to stare up the sheer face of the cliffs. Obviously, someone had recently climbed them. There were foot scratchings all the way up a straight line, which meant, most certainly, a rope, an arm-over-arm, climb up 1,000-foot rope with occasional foot kicks for balance. To make such a climb required both strength and planning, so the prince made those marks in his brain. My enemy is strong. My enemy is not impulsive. Now his eyes reached a point perhaps 300 feet from the top. Here it began to get interesting. Now the foot scratchings were deeper, more frequent, and they followed no direct ascending line. Either someone left the rope 300 feet from the top intentionally, which made no sense, or the rope was cut while that someone was still 300 feet from safety. For clearly, this last part of the climb was what made up the rock face itself. But who had such talent? Why had he been called to exercise it at such a deadly time, 700 feet above disaster? I must examine the tops of the cliffs of insanity, the prince said, without bothering to turn. From behind him, Count Rugen only said, "Done." Count Rugen only said, "Done," and awaited further instructions. Send half the armada south along the coastline and the other north. They should meet by twilight near the fire swamp. Our ship will sail to the first landing possibility, and you will follow me with your soldiers. Ready the whites. Count Rugen signaled the cannoneer, and the prince's instructions boomed among the cliffs. Within minutes, the armada had begun to split, with only the prince's giant ship sailing alone closest to the coastline, looking for a landing possibility. There, the prince ordered, some time later, and his ship began maneuvering into the cove for a safe place to anchor. That took time, but not much, because the captain was skilled, and more than that, the prince was quick to lose patience, and no one dared risk it. Humperdinck jumped from ship to shore, a plank was lowered, and the whites were led to the ground. Of all his accomplishments, none pleased the prince as did these horses. Someday he would have an army of them, but getting the bloodlines perfect was a slow business. He now had 4 whites, and they were identical. Snowy, tireless giants, 20 hands high. On flat land, nothing could catch them, and even on hills and rocky terrain, there was nothing short of Arabia close to their equal. The prince, when rushed, rode all four, bareback, the only way he ever rode, riding one, leading three, chasing beasts in mid-stride so that no single animal had to bear his bulk to the tiring point. Now he mounted and was gone. It took him considerably less than an hour to reach the edge of the cliffs of insanity. He dismounted, went to his knees, and commenced his study of the terrain. There had been a rope tied around a giant oak. The bark at the base was broken and scraped, so probably whoever first reached the top untied the rope, and whoever was on the rope at the moment was the 300 feet from the peak and somehow survived the climb. A great jumble of footprints caused him trouble. It was hard to ascertain what had gone on. Perhaps a conference. Perhaps two sets of footprints seemed to lead off, while one remained pacing the cliff edge. Then there were two on the cliff edge. Humperdinck examined the prints until he was certain of two things. 1. A fencing match had taken place, and 2. The combatants were both masters. The stride length, the quickness of the foot feints, all clearly revealing to his unfailing eye, made him reassess his second conclusion. They were at least masters, probably better. Then he closed his eyes and concentrated on smelling out the blood. Surely in a match of such ferocity, blood must have been spilled. Now it was a matter of giving his entire body over to his sense of smell. The prince had worked at this for many years, ever since a wounded tigress had surprised him from a tree limb while he was tracking her. He had let his eyes follow the blood hunt then, and it had almost killed him. Now he trusted only his olfactories. If there was blood in 100 yards, he would find it. He opened his eyes, moved without hesitation toward a group of large boulders until he found the blood drops. There were few of them, and they were dry, but less than 3 hours old. Humperdinck smiled. When you had the whites under you, 3 hours was a finger snap. He retracted the duel then, for it confused him. It seemed to range from cliff edge and back, then return to the cliff edge. And sometimes the left foot seemed to be leading, sometimes the right, which made no logical sense at all. Clearly swordsmen were changing hands, but why would a master do that unless his good arm was wounded to the point of uselessness? And that clearly had not happened, because a wound of that depth would have left blood spores, and there was not enough blood in the area to indicate that. Strange, strange. Humperdinck continued his wanderings. Stranger still, the battle could not have ended in death. He knelt by the outline of a body. Clearly, a man had laid unconscious there, but again, no blood. There was a mighty duel, Prince Humperdinck said, directing his comment towards Count Rugen, who had finally caught up, together with a contingent of 100 mounted men at arms. My guess would be, and for a moment the prince paused, following footsteps, would be that whoever fell here ran off there, and he pointed one way, and that whoever was the victor ran off along the mountain path in almost precisely the opposite direction. It is also my opinion that the victor was following the path taken by the princess. Shall we follow them both? The count asked. I think not, Prince Humperdinck replied. Whoever is gone is of minimal importance, since whoever has the princess is the whoever we're after. Because we don't know the nature of the trap we might be being led into, we need all the arms we have in one band. Clearly, this had been planned by countrymen of Guilder, and nothing was to ever be put past them. You think this is a trap, then? The count asked. Yeah, Humperdinck is annoying. He can catch these hands for sure. I always think everything is a trap until proven otherwise, the prince answered, which is why I'm still alive. Also, I'm just gonna speak to it now. I'm very tired today, and I'm feeling that tired as I'm reading. So I'm thinking I'm gonna try to make it until 6 o'clock, and I might end up cutting my stream a little early today just because I'm kind of getting a sleepy spell that I'm fighting off, but it's not fun to fight it off, but I don't want to stop reading because I just got here. We just started, you know? So I'm going to try to read for another 30 minutes. And fight it. So, okay. So, and with that, he was back abroad, a white and galloping. Have you eaten lunch? I did eat something before this. Yeah. So, and I've got water as well. I've been drinking water. I didn't sleep super great. And I wanted to sleep more, and I definitely didn't do that. So, yeah. Just feeling very, lethargic. But I want to read more. So I'm going to fight it for a little bit longer. Okay. And with that, he was back aboard a white and galloping. When he reached the mountain path where the hand fight happened, the prince did not even bother dismounting. Everything that could be seen was quite visible from horseback. Someone has beaten a giant, he said when the count was close enough. The giant has run away, do you see? The count, of course, saw nothing but rock and mountain path. I would not think to doubt you. And look there, cried the prince, because now he saw for the first time, in the rubble of the mountain path, the footsteps of a woman. The princess is alive. And again the whites were thundering across the mountain. When the count caught up with him again, the prince was kneeling over the still body of a hunchback. The count dismounted. Smell this, the prince said, and he handed up a goblet. Nothing, the count said. No odor at all. Iocane, the prince replied. I would bet my life on it. I know of nothing else that kills so silently. He stood up then. The princess was still alive. Her footprints followed the path. He shouted at the 100 mounted men. There will be great suffering in Gilder if she dies. On foot now, he ran along the mountain path, following the footsteps that he alone could see. And when those footsteps left the path for wilder terrain, he followed still. Strung out behind him, the count and all the soldiers did their best to keep up. Men stumbled, horses fell, even the count tripped from time to time. Prince Humperdinck never even broke stride. He ran steadily, mechanically, his barrel legs pumping like a metronome. It was 2 hours after dawn when he reached the steep ravine. Odd, he said to the count, who was tiring badly. The count continued only to breathe deeply. 2 bodies fell to the bottom, and they did not come back up. That is odd, the count managed. No, that isn't what's odd, the prince corrected. Clearly the kidnapper did not come back up because the climb was too steep, and our cannons must have let him know that they were closely pursued. His decision, which I applaud, was to make better time running along the ravine floor. The count waited for the prince to continue. It's just odd that a man who was a master fencer, a defeater of giants, an expert in the use of iocane powder, would not know what this ravine opens into. And what is that? Asked the count. The fire swamp, said Prince Humperdinck. Then we have him. Precisely so. It was a well-documented trait of his to smile only just before the kill. His smile was very much in evidence now. My vape dropped. 1 second. All right. So we're slipping into back. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the follow, homie. Welcome in. Appreciate you. And thank you for joining the server too. I saw that you joined our server, so I really appreciate you. We're now transitioning from the POV of Mr. Humperdinck, Prince Humperdinck, to Wesley now. Just so you guys know, because it's like the only indicators, or just it just fucking jumps right into it. So Wesley indeed had not the least idea that he was racing dead into the fire swamp. He knew only once Buttercup was down at the ravine bottom beside him that to climb out would take, as Prince Humperdinck had assumed, too much time. Wesley noted only that the ravine bottom was flat rock and heading in the general direction he wanted to follow. So he and Buttercup fled along, both of them very much aware that gigantic forces were following them and undoubtedly cutting into their lead. The ravine grew increasingly sheer as they went along, and Wesley soon realized that whereas once he probably could have helped her through the climb, now there was simply no way of doing so. He had made his choice and there was no changing possible. Wherever the ravine led was their destination, and that, quite simply, was that. Now we're getting some weird stuff from the author. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Okay. At this point in the story, my wife wants it known that she feels violently cheated not being allowed the scene of reconciliation at the on the ravine floor between the lovers. My reply to her is simply this. A. Each of God's beings from the lowliest on up is entitled to at least a few moments of genuine privacy. B. What actually was spoken, while moving enough to those involved at the actual time, flattens like toothpaste when transferred to paper for later reading. My dove, my only, bliss, bliss, etc. Nothing of importance. Oh, and then C. Nothing of importance in an expository way was related, because every time Buttercup began, tell me about yourself, Wesley quick cut her off with, later, beloved. Now is not the time. However, it should be noted, in fairness to all, that 1. He did weep. 2. Her eyes did not remain precisely dry. And 3. There was more than one embrace. And 4. Both parties admitted that, without any qualifications whatsoever, they were more than a little glad to see each other. Besides, 5. Within a quarter of an hour, they were arguing. It began quite innocently, the two of them kneeling, facing each other, Wesley holding her perfect face in his hands. When I left you, he whispered, you were already more beautiful than anything I dared to dream. In our years apart, my imaginings did their best to improve on your perfection. At night, your face was forever behind my eyes. And now I see that vision who kept me company in my loneliness was a hag compared to the beauty now before me. Jesus. Enough about my beauty, Buttercup said. Everybody always talks about how beautiful I am. I've got a mind, Wesley. Talk about that. She's right. Throughout eternity, I shall do that very thing, he told her, but now we haven't any time. He made it to his feet. The ravine fall had shaken and battered him, but all his bones survived the trip uncracked. He helped her to her feet. Wesley, Buttercup said, just before, hey, welcome in, Golden Dog. Good to see ya. Wesley, Buttercup said then, just before I started down after you, while I was still up there, I could hear you saying something, but the words were indistinct. I've forgotten whatever it was. Oh, no worries at all. It's, okay, I've forgotten whatever it was. Terrible liar. He smiled at her and kissed her cheek. It's not important, and believe me, the past has a way of being past. We must not begin with secrets from each other. She meant it. He could tell that. Trust me, he tried. I do. So tell me your words, or I shall be given reason not to. Wesley sighed. What I was trying to get through to you, my beloved sweet, what I was, as a matter of accurate fact, shouting with everything I had left was, Whatever you do, stay up there. Don't come down here, please. You didn't want to see me. Of course I wanted to see you. I didn't want to see you down here. Why ever not? Because now, my precious, we're more or less kind of trapped. I can't climb out of here and bring you with me without it taking all day. I can get out myself, most likely, without it taking all day, but with the addition of your lovely bulk, that's not about to happen. Nonsense. You climbed the cliffs of insanity, and this isn't nearly that steep. And it took a little out of me too, let me tell you. And after that little effort, I tangled with a fellow who knew a little something about fencing. And after that, I spent a few happy moments grappling with a giant. And after that, I had to outfake a Sicilian to death when any mistake meant it was a knife in the throat for you. And after that, I've run my lungs out a couple of hours. And after that, I was pushed 200 feet down a rock ravine. I'm tired, Buttercup. Do you understand tired? I've put in a night, is what I'm trying to get through to you. I'm not stupid, you know. Quit bragging. Stop being rude. When was the last time you read a book? The truth now. And picture books don't count. I mean something with print in it. Buttercup walked away from him. There are other things to read than print, she said, and the Princess of Hammersmith is displeased with you and is thinking seriously of going home. With no more words, she whirled into his arms, then saying, "Oh, Wesley, I didn't mean that. I didn't. Not a single syllable of it." So hot and cold, these two. What the heck? Now Wesley knew that she meant to say not a single syllable of it, because a syllabub was something you ate, with cream and wine mixed in together to form the base. But he also knew an apology when he heard one. So he held her very close and shut his loving eyes, only whispered, "I knew it was false, believe me, every single syllabub." And out of the way, they started running as fast as they could along the flat rock floor of the ravine. Wesley, naturally enough, was considerably ahead of Buttercup with the realization that they were heading into the fire swamp. Whether it was a touch of sulfur riding a breeze or a flick of yellow flame far ahead in the daylight, he could not say for sure. But once he realized what was about to happen, he began as casually as possible to find a way to avoid it. A quick glance up the sheer ravine sides ruled out any possibility of his getting Buttercup past the climb. He dropped to the ground, as he had been doing every few minutes, to test the speed of their trackers. Now, he guessed them to be less than a half hour behind and gaining. He rose and ran with her, faster, neither of them spending breath in conversation. It was only a matter of time before she understood what they were about to be into. So he decided to beat back her panic in any way possible. "I think we can slow down a bit now," he told her, slowing down a bit. "They're still well behind." Buttercup took a deep breath of relief. Wesley made a show of checking their surroundings. When he gave her his best smile, with any luck at all, he said we should soon be safely in the fire swamp. Buttercup heard his speech, of course, but she did not take it well. A few words now on two related subjects. 1. Fire swamps in general, and 2. The Florengilder fire swamp in particular. 1. Fire swamps are, of course, entirely misnamed. As to why this has happened, no one knows, though probably the colorful quality of the two words together is enough. Simply, there are swamps which contained a large percentage of sulfur and other gas bubbles that burst continually into flame. They are covered with lush giant trees that shadow the ground, making the flame bursts seem particularly dramatic. Because they are dark, they are almost always quite moist, thereby attracting the standard insect and alligator community that prefers a moist climate. In other words, a fire swamp is just a swamp, period. The rest is embroidery. And 2, the Florengilder fire swamp did and does have some particularly odd characteristics. A. the existence of snow sand, and B, the presence of the ROUS, about which a bit more later. Snow sand is usually, again incorrectly, identified with lightning sand. Nothing could be less accurate. Lightning sand is moist and basically destroys by drowning. Snow sand is as powdery as anything short of talcum and destroys by suffocation. Oh wow, Jesus. Hey, thanks for chatting. Welcome in. Jesus, this place sounds horrible. Most particularly, though, the Flora Gilder fire swamp was used to frighten children. There was not a child in either country that at one time or another was not, well, misbehaving very badly, threatened with abandonment in the fire swamp. Do that one more time, you're going to the fire swamp. It's as common as, clean your plate, people are starving in China. I don't know if that's how that's supposed to go, but okay. And so, as children grew, so did the danger of the fire swamp in their enlarging imaginations. No one, of course, ever actually went into the fire swamp, although every year or so, a deceased ROUS might wander out to die, and its discovery would only add to the myth and horror. What is an ROUS in this situation? Thank you so much for the support. We really, really, really greatly appreciate it. Okay. What the fuck? The largest known fire swamp is, of course, within a day's drive of Perth. It is impenetrable and over 25 miles square. The one between Florin and Gilder was barely a third that size. No one had been able to discover it if it was impenetrable or not. Buttercup stared at the fire swamp. As a child, she had once spent an entire nightmared year convinced that she was going to die there. Now she could not move another step. The giant trees blackened the ground ahead of her. From every part came the sudden flames. You cannot ask it of me, she said. I must. I once dreamed I would die here. So did I. So did we all. Were you 8 that year? I was. 8? 6? I can't remember. Wesley took her hand. She could not move. Must we? Wesley nodded. Why? Now is not the time. He pulled her gently. She still could not move. Wesley took her in his arms. Child, sweet child. I have a knife. I have my sword. I did not come across the world to lose you now. Buttercup was searching somewhere for a sufficiency of courage. Evidently, she found it in his eyes. At any rate, hand in hand, they moved into the shadows of the fire swamp. I'm going to take a second to drink something. Sorry for having to cut it short today, you guys. I'm still fighting the sleepies, and it's like, yeah, I do need to stay hydrated. It's okay, but it's just, it's just hard to fight off. It's like, I don't know. It's like my brain just feels so foggy, and trying to read through it, it's kind of rough. So sorry that we're gonna only have like an hour of book club today instead of usually I'd go until 7, but it be hitting, and yeah. So I will read until 6, and then we'll do our little, but we have many more fun things coming up through the week, so life be lifin'. Yup, exactly. I gotta take care of myself best I can. We also, if you have any ideas for movies, for movie night, we are still accepting like movie ideas in the Discord. So feel free to throw them in the movie and shows channel. The theme of the week is enemies to lovers, which is one of my favorite niches. So, enemies to lovers. If you have any suggestions, throw it in there, and then we'll work on the poll and post it tomorrow. I'm burping up a storm. Oh God. Okay. Prince Humperdinck just stared. He sat astride a while, studying the footsteps down on the floor of the ravine. There was simply no other conclusion. The kidnapper had dragged his princess into it. Count Rugen sat alongside. Did they actually go in? The prince nodded. Praying the answer would be no, the count asked. Do you think we should follow them? The prince shook his head. They'll either live or die in there. If they die, I have no wish to join them. If they live, I'll greet them on the other side. It's too far around, the count said. Not for my whites. We'll follow as best we can. I don't like that he calls his horses his whites. It's such an odd thing to say. We'll follow as best we can, the count said. He stared again at the fire swamp. He must be very desperate, or very frightened, or very stupid, or very brave. Very all four, I should think, the prince replied. It's the most sense the prince has made. Wesley led the way. Buttercup stayed just behind, and they made, from the outset, very good time. The main thing, she realized, was to forget your childhood dreams, for the fire swamp was bad, but it wasn't that bad. The odor of the escaping gases, which at first seemed almost totally punishing, soon diminished through familiarity. The sudden bursts of flame were easily avoided because, just before they struck, there was a deep kind of popping sound clearly coming from the vicinity where the flames would then appear. Wesley carried his sword in his right hand, his long knife in his left, waiting for the first ROUS, but none appeared. He had cut a very long piece of strong vine and coiled it over one shoulder, and was busy working on it as they moved. What we'll do once I've got this properly done is, he told her, moving steadily on beneath the giant trees. We'll attach ourselves to each other, so that way, no matter what the darkness, we'll be close. Actually, I think that's more precaution than necessary, because to tell you the truth, I'm almost disappointed. This place is bad, alright, but it's not that bad. Don't you agree? Hi, Wayne. Buttercup wanted to, totally, and she would have too, only by then the snow sand had her. Wesley turned only in time to see her disappear. Buttercup had simply let her attention wander for a moment. The ground seemed solid enough, and she had no idea what snow sand looked like anyway, but once her front foot began to sink in, she could not pull back, and before she could scream, she was gone. It was like falling through a cloud. The sand was the finest in the world, and there was no bulk to it whatsoever, and at first, no unpleasantness. She was just falling, gently, through this soft powdery mass, falling farther and farther from anything resembling life, but she could not allow herself to panic. Wesley had instructed her on how to behave if this happened, and she followed his words now. She spread her arms and spread her fingers and forced herself into the position resembling that of a dead man's float and swimming. All this because Wesley had told her to, because the more she could spread herself, the slower she would sink. And the slower she sank, the quicker he could dive down after her and catch her. Buttercup's ears were now caked with snow sand all the way in, and her nose was filled with snow sand, both nostrils. And she knew if she opened her eyes, a million tiny fine bits of snow sand would seep behind her eyelids. And now she was beginning to panic badly. How long had she been falling? Hours, it seemed. And she was having pain in holding her breath. You must hold it until I find you, he had said. You must go into a dead man's float, and you must close your eyes and hold your breath, and I'll come get you, and we'll both have a wonderful story for our grandchildren. Buttercup continued to sink. The weight of the sand had begun to brutalize her shoulders. The small of her back began to ache. It was agony keeping her arms outstretched and her fingers spread when it was all so useless. The snow sand was heavier and heavier on her now as she sank always down. And was it bottomless, as they thought when they were children? Did you just sink forever until the sand ate away at you, and then did your poor bones continue the trip forever down? No. Surely there had to be somewhere a resting place. A resting place, Buttercup thought. What a wonderful thing. I'm so tired, and I want to rest, and Wesley, come save me, she screamed. Or started to. Because in order to scream, you had to open your mouth. So all she really got out was the first sound of the word, whoa. Oh God. After that, the snow sand was down in her throat, and she was done. Wesley had made a terrific start. Before she had even entirely disappeared, he had dropped his sword and long knife and had gotten the vine coil from his shoulder. It took him next to no time to knot one end around a giant tree and hold tight to the free end. He simply dove headlong into the snow sand, kicking his feet as he sank, for greater speed. There was no question in his mind of failure. He knew he would find her, and he knew she would be upset and hysterical and possibly even brain-tumbled, but alive. And that was, in the end, the only fact of lasting import. The snow sand had his ears and nose blocked, and he hoped she had not panicked, had remembered to spread eagle her body so that he could catch her quickly with his headlong dive. If she remembered, it wouldn't be that hard. The same, really, as rescuing a drowning swimmer in murky water. They floated slowly down. You dove straight down, you kicked, you pulled with your free arm, you gained on them, you grabbed them, you brought them to the surface, and the only real problem then would be convincing your grandchildren that such a thing had actually happened and was not just another family fable. He was still concerning his mind with the infants yet unborn when something happened he had not counted on. The vine was not long enough. He hung suspended for a moment, holding to the end of it as it stretched straight up through the snow sand to the security of the giant tree. To release the vine was truly madness. There was no possibility of forcing your body all the way back up to the surface. A few feet of ascension was possible if you kicked wildly, but no more. So if he let go of the vine and did not find her within a finger snap, it was all up for both of them. Wesley let go of the vine without a qualm, because he had come too far to fail now. Failure was not even a problem to be considered. Down he sank then, and within a finger snap he had his hand around her wrist. Wesley screamed then himself, in horror and surprise, and the snow sand gouged at his throat, for what he had grabbed was a skeleton wrist, bone only, no flesh left at all. That happened in snow sand. Once the skeleton was picked clean, it would begin often to float like seaweed in a quiet tide, shifting this way and that, sometimes surfacing, more often just journeying through the snow sand for eternity. Wesley threw the wrist away and reached out blindly with both hands now, scrabbling wildly to touch some part of her, because failure was not a problem. Failure is not a problem, he told himself. It is not a problem to be considered, so forget failure. Just keep busy and find her. Her foot more precisely, and he pulled it to him, and then his arm was around her perfect waist, and he began to kick with any strength left, needing now to rise the few yards to the end of the vine. The idea that it might be difficult finding a single vine strand in a small sea of snow sand never bothered him. Failure was not a problem. He would simply have to kick, and when he had kicked hard enough, he would rise. When he had risen enough, he would reach out for the vine. And when he reached out to it, it would be there, and when it was there, he would tie her up to it. With his last breath, he would pull them both up to life. Which is exactly what happened. She remained unconscious for a very long time. Wesley busied himself, as best he could, cleansing the snow sand from ears and nose and mouth, and most delicate of all, from got a text that it confused me. Sorry. From beneath the lids of her eyes. The length of her quietness disturbed him vaguely. It was almost as if she knew she had died and was afraid to find out it was for a fact that it was true. He held her in his arms, rocked her slowly. Eventually, she was blinking. Okay, that's where I'll stop it for now. My mouth is so dry and I'm struggling to hang on right now. So, sorry for the short story time, you guys, but we will have it again on Friday. So, don't forget, throw movies in to our movie channel. We have, a lot of fun things happening this week. Not as much as last week, but still. I've got a comfy cozy stream happening on Wednesday, a later one than usual, and we're gonna play Stardew Valley, so we'll get back on our Stardew stuff. And then another book club on Friday. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on Wednesday.